Hey, Elizabeth Stitt here with Joyful Parenting Coaching. Today, I want to share with you one of my favorite parenting phrases, and that is in our family, we. Let me start by telling you why I think this is such an important phrase. Families used to be more united. There was more emphasis on family life. Society supported families and family life. Even external things like a school day starting at 9 o'clock and ending at 3 o'clock allowed more times for families. If you grew up in a town where there was a factory, there might even have been a factory whistle at the end of the day, which said, okay, everybody's going home now to their families. It's the end of the workday and it's time to go home for dinner. Kids who are out playing on the street had an idea of when they were expected at home, and that expectation was similar for all the kids around them. We were more likely to be going to a religious institution in our neighborhoods close to where we lived. And so there were a lot of families around us who were in the same religious institution where the same expectations were being set about who we were and who we should be being and how we should be showing up in the world. So that parents had less heavy lifting to do in terms of defining who are we as a family. Kids were less busy. They were less likely to be spending long hours, certainly long hours at childcare, but also long hours away at activities that took them away from family life. If you have a kid who's on a travel sports team, you know how much of your time is in the car going devoted to taking that one child to their event. Now, if you only have one child, maybe the whole family's going, and maybe that is a way of being a family. But if you've got two children and they're both on their own traveling teams, chances are you're dividing and conquering as parents, and you are going off in different directions, not to increase the family bond, but to develop the individual. And of course, there's a lot to recommended in developing the individual, but it is coming at the cost of that security of a family unit. And it's one of the reasons we are experiencing more anxiety and depression. It used to be that our family unit, that was our safe place. That was our home harbor. We felt anchored, not adrift out on the sea. Today, we're spending very little time as a family. We're spending very little time in a smaller group. We go to school and we're in a class with 20 to 30 kids. We go to aftercare, there might be 30 or 40 kids running around on the yard. We go to a soccer team or to the dojo, and then we're in a larger class. We're not spending that much time in a small group where we're really known intimately and where we can absolutely trust the relationships and the systems. Okay, so that's the why for needing to pay more attention as parents to creating the family bond. We have to be more deliberate because there are more forces that are pulling families away from each other. Number one force, if we're on our phone, we can all be lined up like frogs on a log on the family couch. But if we're each in our own direction in the World Wide Web, we're somewhere else in the world. We're not home, present on the couch, all next to each other. Language can make a big difference in helping to unite us and to help define us as a family unit. And one of my favorite phrases for that is, in our family, we. Probably your kid has come to you at some point and said, "Why can't I do this?" Johnny's family, they let him do that. Mary's family, they let her do that. Joey's family, they let them do that. Or, I think I should get to do X, Y, or Z. And kids have always been doing that. There's no doubt about it. We've always tried to paint the grass is greener on the other side of the fence in somebody else's house. But when parents used to spend more time on the street talking to each other, more time, after religious services in the fellowship hall, connecting and talking to each other, parents had this check of like what was actually going on in other people's houses. Today, not so much. We are so busy, we're not hanging out with other parents. And so we feel vulnerable to that argument of they get to, why can't we? The phrase "in our family, we" requires parents to not just use it as the blanket, this is my excuse for everything, but rather we need to do some self-reflection, talk with our partner, and come up with some key values that we are really going to emphasize and come back to over and over with our kids. And it doesn't matter so much what that value is. After all, your values are personal and that's up to you. But let's just use an example. In my classroom, I placed an enormous emphasis on being respectful, right? Allow the teacher to teach, allow students to learn, and be respectful. And that be respectful was kind of my blanket value. It was my blanket rule. And so then we would spend time talking about what does it mean to be respectful of yourself? What does it mean to be respectful of somebody else? What does it mean to be respectful of property? And when we're in a class and we're showing up with respect, what does that feel like? What does that sound like? What are the things you hear people saying to each other? What's the volume? Right? What does it look like? If you had a video camera on the classroom, how would you be able to tell that this was a respectful classroom? What would you see? And we do the same thing for our homes, and we really define it with our kids. What does it mean to be respectful, to be kind, to be hardworking, to be problem solvers, to be creative? Again, I'm not telling you what the value should be. I'm asking you to identify a value so that you can organize your family around a key idea. And that helps them to feel more bonded, to feel like a team of people who are going to have the same priorities. And then we can use the family motto or the phrase "in our family, we" to pull our kids back to that idea. So when a child is, I don't know, let's say you're at the restaurant and they are taking, don't ask me why I happen to have 2 cans of corn on my desk, but I do. But let's say that they are at the restaurant and they start seeing how tall a building they can build, how tall a tower they can build with the things on the table in the restaurant. Instead of saying, "Hey, stop that. Stop building that tower. That's not nice. Don't do that." We come back and we say, what would be the respectful way to sit at the table at a restaurant, which is somebody else's table? That activates your child's critical thinking. Oh, is taking random objects and piling them up respectful? What could happen if I do that? Could something break? Could I be distracting other eaters who are worried about my tower? Could somebody get hurt? Certainly, if a can, I'm still laughing that I have cans of corn on my desk. But if a can falls over, rolls and hits somebody, that could really hurt. So that's not respectful. So we say, in our family, we are respectful. What would be the respectful thing to do right now? We are at once activating their creativity, their problem solving, and we are reminding them, hey, you guys, we have talked a lot at home about what it means to be respectful and who we want to be and how we want to show up in the world. And this is one of those times where we want to pay some attention to that. How are we showing up? You can extend in our family we to a whole family motto. What's the use of a family motto? Again, it's shorthand for who we are and how we want to show up. So we take the sum of all of our conversations, all the times we've sat with our kids, hopefully at a family meeting. I'm a big believer in family meetings. And we've gone over, what does it mean to be respectful? How do we want to treat each other? How do we want to feel as a family member? And then we take 2, 3, 4 sentences and we put it together and repeat it, codify it by writing it down, and now we have it. I've had families who, as part of their ritual of dinner time, they don't say grace. Maybe they're not a religious family, so there's no, grace at the table, no prayer at the table. But in order to have everybody who's been running around all day, busy days, going in different directions, now come and be present, one person in the family each night recites the family motto. And that reminds us who we are as a family. And even if we only have 20 minutes to sit down and eat before we run off in different directions, we now have words that represent who we are. And we say those words out loud, and that reminds us and it grounds us and it brings us home safe to the harbor. All right, I want to know what you think about this idea and where in your family you might use that phrase. In our family, we. One quick other example, because it's such an easy one. In our family, we are safe. Now I'm going to finish up with whatever needs to be done in this particular moment. By the way, if you've got little kids, we maybe don't have as much time or space to ask what would be the safe thing to do right now. So with our little kids, especially if it's a dangerous situation, we're not going to say, in our family, we're safe. What needs to happen right now? We might say, in our family, we're safe. Put your bottom down in the tub. In our family, we're safe. 4 legs of the chair on the floor, please. In our family, we're safe. Don't climb higher than you are tall. But because we're starting with our family, we're safe, instead of just sounding like nagging, we're reminding our children that it's a good thing to be a part of family, that it feels safe and warm and connected to be a part of the family. All right. Hope you have some food for thought here, and I'd love to know in the chat what you think you're going to use this with.